right, welcome to my session. This is the Success Stories of Soliant's Philanthropy Committee. My name is Maka Encarnação. So who am I? I'm a Bruin. I graduated from UCLA back in 2007, and shortly after graduating, I joined Soliant Consulting. I love it there. I've been there 11 years now, and they taught me everything from the ground up. I didn't even know what FileMaker was when I joined Soliant. I'm a speaker. I spoke in the 2016 DevCon, and I loved it, had a total blast, so happy to be back. I was supposed to speak last year at DevCon, but unfortunately I had a medical issue that I had some fluid buildup behind my right eye, and I wasn't able to see out of that eye, so I wasn't able to come to DevCon. Apparently when you're very, very pregnant, you have lots of fluid everywhere, and sometimes that fluid gets into your eyeball. So something you learn. A couple weeks after DevCon, I did give birth to my beautiful little girl, and I'm the proud mother of 2 little girls. So here are my 2 girls together. And I'm also really proud to be a member of the Women of FileMaker. I am the lead of the mentoring committee. If you're interested in getting some mentorship or becoming a mentor, giving back to the community, we welcome all genders to participate. Check out our website, womenoffilemaker.com. All right, so what is the Humanitarian Committee? So basically, we provide philanthropy services to nonprofits who couldn't afford it otherwise. It's a completely volunteer basis within Soliant, and what that means is our Soliant employees who work on the project, we call them Solianteers, they have to do it in addition to their normal workload. We do treat our projects like any other regular project, so to the same standards. So we hire a project, or we include a project manager. We use all of our regular tools, our internal tools. We do foundation, we do requirements gathering, we do wireframes, the same standard as a regular project. We do span across all of our practice areas, which includes FileMaker, Salesforce, and the web. And we have had a couple of successful Salesforce projects within the Humanitarian Committee, but I'll tell you, most of our projects are really FileMaker. FileMaker really lends itself to quickly and efficiently building these applications for the nonprofits very nicely. How did this all start? So interestingly enough, it started at DevCon 2015. I was at the bar, as you do while you're at DevCon, with my friend and colleague Josie Graham. And she said, you have to talk to my friend, you have to meet my friend, Chris. So she sat me down with this guy, Christopher Manton. I'm sure a lot of you know Chris. He's pretty famous in the community, been going to DevCon for years. And him and I had a couple drinks and we started talking, and somehow the topic of death came up. I have no idea how the topic of death came up, but it did. And Chris said to me, he had experienced death firsthand. He had witnessed it firsthand. And of course I was intrigued. I wanted to learn more about this. So he told me about his job before he became a FileMaker developer, which was a journalist in Africa. And while he was there in Africa, he saw some really horrible things. And one of the biggest problems he saw was starvation. And he actually held in his arms an 18-month-old little girl who died from starvation in his arms. And this really struck me because back at home, I had an 18-month-old, my little girl was 18 months, chubby, happy, eating everything that you put in her face. So the thought of her starving to death, it just really broke me. I went back to my hotel room that night and I thought, there's gotta be something I can do. I can't just drop everything, I can't leave my family, go to Africa and help people directly. But then it dawned on me, maybe I can donate my services. Maybe I can share my expertise and help the people who are there directly, helping people who are starving in Africa. So I talked to Josie Graham that night about starting a humanitarian committee within Soliant, and she loved the idea. We talked about the structure, how it might work, and we decided to meet with Bob the next day and pitch the idea to him. Bob Bauer is our CEO. So the next morning, we're in Las Vegas at the pool, the rooftop pool in the cabana with Josie and myself and Bob Bowers, and we pitched the idea to him, and he immediately loved it. He said, let's do it, this is great. So one of the first things he said to us was, well, we're gonna need a test project before we go completely public. We're gonna need to know, is this concept gonna work? So I don't know if it was fate or what have you, but very shortly after, after DevCon, we got an email from Tiffany. She's right here in the middle. And she is a nurse for the Luke Commission. And the Luke Commission, what they do is they're a nonprofit that provide free healthcare services for the people of Swaziland, Africa. They have these mobile outreaches where they take trailers and tents and set up in different regions of Swaziland. They try to go to the people instead of having the people come to them and provide healthcare for all these people who are having really hard time getting healthcare. She shared with us one of the biggest issues she had was eye care, cataracts and other eye-related diseases. So these outreaches allow the people of Swaziland to have consultations, eye surgery, and post-op care. You can see in this picture here, this is someone getting eye surgery inside one of their structures. But they don't do just eye surgery. They do HIV screening, TB screening, they do x-rays, immunizations. They've given away over 500,000 Tom shoes to the people of Swaziland. So if you don't own a pair of Tom shoes, go buy some, because the 1-for-1 is amazing. And they were currently tracking all their patient data in Excel. They needed an easier way to track patient data, their visits, and their procedures. They wanted to be able to take a patient and be able to easily see what their past history was within the Luke Commission. They were tracking, they also need to track a way to remind their nurses to call each patient and remind them to come into their appointment, and also to check up on them for post-op care. So if someone just had surgery, a nurse needs to call the next day and say, how's your pain level? Do you need to come in tomorrow? Do I need to call you back in a couple days to see how you're doing? What they were doing was using Excel, and so they needed to go beyond Excel. And that's basically what we built for them, a FileMaker database that had all those features. And in fact, there was a phase 2 to this project where Ross, pictured here, and Josie flew out to Swaziland to help them with some server issues and help them generate some automated reports. Reports are vital for getting funding. They also enter data into an iPad while they're at an outreach, and they have to sync to a server. So I reached out to Jesse from 360works, and he was so generous to donate a license of MirrorSync to this project. So thank you, Jesse, and thank you, Josie and Ross. And I'll show you a screenshot of what this app looks like right now. And before I move on to the next project, I kind of want to talk about a running theme that I noticed throughout some of these projects. The saying, give them a fish and they'll eat for a day, teach them how to fish and they'll eat for a lifetime, it's really true with FileMaker. The Luke Commission was able to take our app, duplicate it, tweak it, and now use it for other departments. Now they have 3 to 4 apps based on the single app that we provided for them. In fact, Tiffany's husband, Sam, is now a full-time FileMaker developer as well as IT support. And to this day, he'll just reach out to us once in a while, asking for if whenever he gets stuck, but for the most part, they're really self-sustaining. So the next project I'm going to talk about is Operation Comfort. They're located in San Antonio, Texas, not too far from here. They provide physical and mental support for soldiers wounded while serving in Afghanistan or Iraq. Their programs include woodworking, cycling, sled hockey, swimming, sailing, surfing, and even yoga. All these things that they used to enjoy before they went to war. And now they have troubles because of losing a limb or any physical limitations that they have post-war. They were also stuck in Excel, and they needed a FileMaker developer to get them out of it. And lucky for them, and lucky for us as well, we have a Selenium developer in San Antonio, Texas, Anders. And he lived so close to Operation Comfort, he sometimes would pass it on his run route. So it was a perfect fit. He built a database that tracks members, events, and who signed up for what event. So now, instead of spending all their time doing data entry or searching for data, they're spending more time working on their events. So thank you, Anders, for your help on that one. The next project I'm going to talk about is Rainforest Trust. They're located in Warrenton, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., and what they do is they purchase tropical rainforests from around the world. They protect all the wildlife species in that rainforest by purchasing that land, with the idea of, if I own this land, nobody can cut it down and destroy it. I actually found them on the FileMaker community site, the philanthropy section. They had posted asking for help, and I responded asking if we could help them, and a team was formed. They had a FileMaker app that they built themselves just as a proof of concept, and they needed help just taking it to the next level. July analyzed their business needs and did the requirements gathering, and Beth Bennett built the FileMaker app. What this app does is it tracks application workflow. So there's lots of steps required for steps and paperwork required for purchasing lands. And this app really keeps everything in one place. It also automates emails, automates reminders, and does some exporting and, of course, reports, which is vital for funding. This app makes sure that none of the steps are dropped in the application process. What's especially interesting about this project is that they valued our app so much that they ended up hiring us to do more work. So they actually became a repeat business client for us. So thank you, Beth and July, for that project. And here's a couple more screenshots. So the next project I want to talk about is St. Francis Center. They're located in Redwood City, California. And they provide housing, clothing, food, laundry, but most importantly, education. They have a school for children ages 10 to 17, and this school is one of the top-rated schools in the Bay Area. It's very highly sought after and very hard to get into. In order to qualify, the families have to be low to no income residents, and they have to attend parenting classes and job skill classes. The entire goal of St. Francis Center is not only to treat the symptom of poverty through providing housing and clothing and food, but also provide a lifelong solution to the cause of poverty, which is education. Sister Christina, you can see at the top right here, she really runs the show at St. Francis Center. And according to the developer on this project, Adam, and here's project manager Naomi, according to Adam, she is one tough cookie. And I think you have to be a tough cookie to accomplish everything that she's accomplished. She's Redwood City's Citizen of the Year and San Mateo County Women Hall of Fame. And with the help of Stanford University, who recently donated $1 million, just a few weeks ago in July, she had bought a brand new, well, not brand new, but new to her, housing complex to house even more families in the area. So what did Adam build for them? They had an existing FileMaker app that tracked family visits in the center. Adam enhanced it with ID card scanning and creating. So every time a family comes to visit the center, they each get a family card, and they scan it, and it scans into a FileMaker app. And also, this FileMaker app will create the ID cards for new families. He also added reports, which is vital for funding, and he also updated the UI, which according to Sister Christina, needed a complete overhaul. He also created a FileMaker Go component so that families are able to create their ID cards and check in by themselves just on an iPad. What I love about this project is that Adam and Naomi both live in the Bay Area, so they're really able to directly affect people in their own community. So thank you, Adam and Naomi, for all your help with that project. The next one I'm going to talk about is Prince Albert Food Bank. They're located in Canada, and they also had an existing FileMaker app. The person who built this app was a newbie, so it wasn't that well structured. They asked us to completely rebuild it. So the workflow was initially pretty simple. Take down the person's name, contact info, employment, some notes, a picture of the person, and that's exactly what our developer, Mislav, did. He completed all those requests and more. He also added reports, which is vital for funding, and a user-friendly UI. This app now tracks how they disperse hampers, which contain food and other items, to all their clients. So here's some screenshots of this app and all the work that Mislav did for this project. All right, so how we started with this group, the Altadena Mountain Rescue Team, is really interesting. So our very own Jeremiah Small had been volunteering with his local mountain rescue team for about a year before they became a client of ours. He did special climbing training, and he went out to many rescues in the mountains of California near Los Angeles. He was at a regular meeting, and the team lead said to them, "Has anyone heard of something called FileMaker Pro?" And he thought that they were joking, that they were playing a joke on him. They figured out what he did and what he does for a living, and he thought it was all a joke, but it wasn't a joke. They really needed help. So Jeremiah talked to them and really walked through all the different avenues of their problem and all the different options, and just to make sure that FileMaker was the right fit. And by the end of that conversation, everyone decided that FileMaker was the right fit. He came to Josie and myself and asked, could we take Altadena Mountain Rescue Team on as a new humanitarian project? And Josie and I immediately agreed. We knew it was something he was involved with, something passionate, and such a great cause. And by the way, everyone here is a volunteer. They work almost 100% on volunteers, and they have very small budget, and most of it, almost all of it, goes to the materials that they need for that year. So they had very little budget to work with. So Josie and I almost immediately agreed to take the Altadena Mountain Rescue Team on as a new project. And probably seconds after agreeing to that, Jeremiah showed us the app that he had already built. So if you ask Jeremiah what this app does, he'll say it's a digitalized version of the 3-ring binder in which activity logs have historically been recorded. Formerly, each activity was logged by hand on a 2-sided paper filled out after the fact. It also made it very difficult to compile any kind of stats. The new system can be filled out in real time from anywhere with a network connection and is very conducive to compiled stats. We also had Bill Heiser and Mike Duncan step up to help finish this project, make it beautiful, and it's actually going to soft launch today, right? It's going into soft launch today. So here's what the app looks like. That's very nice. They did amazing work on this one. So thank you guys for all your hard work on that project. The next project I'm going to talk about is Reaching Hope. So they're located in Commerce City, Colorado. This one is probably one of my favorites we've had so far, and I'll explain why in a second. But what they do is they provide mental health services to children and adults who are impacted by child abuse, sexual abuse, relationship violence, or basically any traumatic experiences. Our 2 clients are psychologists. Actually, all of Reaching Hope is a group of psychologists, but our 2 clients are the 2 directors. So the top here we have Dr. Ambra, and she's the Director of Child Psychology Services. And at the bottom we have Dr. Aubrey, and she's the Director of Adult Psychology Services. And you can also see there pictured is their therapy dog, Hercules. So what I love about this project is not only what they do, which is very, very important, but also the passion and enthusiasm that Dr. Amber has. She just has so much passion and so much enthusiasm, not only for her job, but for her vision of what FileMaker can do and where it can take Reaching Hope. She downloaded the trial and taught herself FileMaker, and thanks to all the online resources that you people in the community have provided, she did a really great job at a first take at it, and she's really excited to learn more. It's very important to her to be able to learn FileMaker along the way. She wants to be able to sustain her own app and build upon it if she needs to in the future. So lucky for us, our very own Mark Baum stepped up to help with this project. And what he's essentially doing is going to be tutoring Dr. Ambra, teaching her how to build her own app and how to sustain it in the future. What I also love about this project is that we have a web developer involved, Jesse. Jesse's going to be building a JavaScript app that's going to be used inside the web viewer that's going to create what's called genograms. Now, a genogram is essentially a family tree, so you have the mom and the dad, and you have the children under that, and then you have the parents on top, but it's more than that. It also tracks important dates like divorces, and it also tracks important relations like divorce. Like abuse. So let me show you, this is what an example genogram looks like, just to give you an idea. And you can see all the different types of relationships that they track in a genogram. So this project just kicked off a couple weeks ago, so we're very much in the infant phase, and I don't have a lot to show for it. But I'm really, really excited where this project is going, and I'm so excited for Reaching Hope to be able to create these genograms in their FileMaker app instead of having to draw them by hand. So the next project I want to talk about is Women's Alliance for Knowledge Exchange, also known as WAKE. They're a brand new client of ours. They just landed actually last week. And what they do is they focus on women's rights and social justice. They facilitate the advancement of women through technology with a program they call Tech to Empower. They're located in San Francisco, California, and their co-founder, Heather, she's also learning FileMaker Pro. She downloaded the trial, she built a really great first attempt at a FileMaker app, and she just needs help taking it to the next level. She said in her inquiry, a few hours of your time would make a world of a difference. And I really, really love that. That really resonated with me. In fact, when I read that, I was like, sold. We're going with you. Because it's so true. It's so true. Just a few hours of our time can really make such a big difference for these nonprofits. So that kind of leads me to the next slide. I'm hoping some of these projects might inspire you to consider doing some pro bono work out in the FileMaker community. And you may be wondering, how can you help? So I compiled a list. First thing on the list is the philanthropy space in the FileMaker community. Check it out. That's how we found one of our projects, so it's definitely worth checking out. You can post on there that you're willing to help, or post on there that you need help. So it's a good place to reach out in the community. There's also a program called Taproot Plus, and they describe themselves as like a matchmaking website for developers and nonprofits. So they'll post on there if they need help, and then as a developer you can reply. And they do a bunch of different technologies, but I have seen a couple FileMaker requests up there, so it's definitely worth checking out. The next one I want to talk about is reach out to the nonprofits you care about. Just send them an email, send them their info email, and tell them that you want to help. I actually did this with a nonprofit that I really liked, which was Air Shepherd. And what they do is they fly drones over Africa to kind of look for poachers and try to prevent poaching. And I love what they do, so I reached out to them, and they didn't need our services because they already had an app built, but it was great to just talk to them, and they were totally interested in learning more about what we do. Reach out to the nonprofits in your own community. I love that Jeremiah is building an app for Altadena Mountain Rescue Team in his own community. I love that Mark and Adam were able to help people in their own community. So it's such a great feeling to be able to help people in your own community. And I think that if you find something that you really care about, it's just going to be more fun for you. You're going to want to put more into it. Advertise your pro bono services on your website. So that's basically what we do, and it's been working for us so far. So give it a shot. It might work for you. And if you're still not sure, if nothing is working out for you, and you're not sure how else you can help, reach out to me. We can't help every single person that comes to us, unfortunately. Sometimes it's not a good fit technology-wise, or it's not a good fit in our timeline, but I'm happy to pass that along if that's something you're interested in. So whenever there's a mass shooting in the United States, I always see this on the news, and I'll read it really quick. When I was a boy and I would see scary things on the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You'll always find people who are helping, Mr. Rogers. And I like that quote, but it bugs me at the same time. Yeah, you should look for the helpers, sure, that's the good thing, look for the helpers. But if you can't be a helper, then you should help the helpers. And I think that's what the Humanitarian Committee is all about, helping the helpers. I like to describe it that way. So yeah, you could donate your time working in a soup kitchen, you could donate your time, you could donate your money, you could donate clothes, sure, or you could just donate your expertise. How much more powerful is that? How much more valuable is that, donating your expertise? So instead of nonprofits doing repetitive data entry or crafting hundreds of emails by hand that could have been automated, a few hours of your time, of our time, could free up hundreds of hours for them. So just to bring this back full circle, the day after DevCon, Las Vegas, 2015, the Humanitarian Committee had officially started, and I see Chris Manton again at the pool. Apparently I spent a lot of time at the pool and the bar when I'm at DevCon. And People hadn't flown home yet, and I see Chris Mountain there. He's there with his luggage, just hanging out, waiting for his flight. And I talked to him for a little bit. And I really, in my head, I kept thinking, oh, I should tell him about the Humanitarian community. I should tell him what we started, all because of this inspiration I had with that one conversation at the bar at DEF CON. Like, I really wanted to tell him, but I bit my tongue. I was like, oh, I'll wait till I have something to show for it, or maybe next DEF CON I'll tell him about it. And so I didn't say anything, and then he left. I gave him a hug goodbye, and he left for the airport. I didn't see him again. And then when the Luke Commission finished, I kept thinking, oh, I should email him. Now I can tell him, because now I have kind of something to show for it. Like, our first attempt has worked so far, and I didn't, and I really wish I did. So April 2016, 9 months after DEF CON, I see an email that Christopher Manson had passed away from cancer. So I really learned two things on this journey with the Humanitarian Committee: how to help the helpers, and also don't procrastinate with something that's important to you. Make time and do it. The day-to-day stuff, it can just wait. So I want to publicly thank Christopher for changing my life, really. And if you're interested in learning more about his memoir, or his time in Africa, his memoir is included in the session materials with permission by his lovely wife, Maria. So thank you all very much, and I hope you all have a great rest of your DEF CON. And now we have Chris.
Well, good morning. My name is Chris Gruey, and I'm the application developer for the Ohio School Boards Association. And the title of my portion of the presentation is called Rogue Nonprofit, A FileMaker Story. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of bad Star Wars puns in here, and I apologize in advance. So let's get right into it. Like I said, I'm the application developer for OSBA. I started with the company in 2013 as a part-time contractor, and I became a full-time employee at the end of 2015. My primary work today is with the FileMaker platform and Drupal and integrating the two, and I'm going to show you some of the cool things we've been able to do with that platform today. Outside of work, I'm a husband, a father, and an Ohio sports fanatic, native of Northeast Ohio. My amazing wife Stephanie and I have been married for 6 years, and we have 2 small children at home, 4 and almost 2. They actually have a birthday party this weekend. And I'm a graduate of The Ohio State University. All right, OSBA is a nonprofit association of Ohio Public School Board members. We were founded in 1955 and we're based in Columbus, Ohio. We're proud to be comprised of more than 700 districts in the state of Ohio. And our main mission is to provide services for board members and district staff to help make them more effective in their roles as staff. Our IT audience consists of 48 internal staff and our 5,000 plus core members and district staff. And we have 2 IT staffers, myself and Drew Clark, who's sitting in the front row. Our FileMaker Galaxy, and well, there's the first of the bad Star Wars puns, consists of 2 FileMaker server instances. We have a dev box and a production box. We have about 33 files in production as of right now, and our 2 main databases track about 50,000 contacts and 7,000 organizations. I say 2 because we have an older one called OSBA, which has roots going back almost 30 years, and we have a newer one called O2 that we're actually building as a replacement for OSBA. Our Drupal sites consist of 6 sites right now, that interact with FileMaker through the use of the FileMaker Data API and custom web publishing, and we're in the process of transitioning from custom web publishing to the Data API. All right, so our FileMaker story begins with the flat file Menace, and that's actually one of the computers that it ran on back in 1988. Our current CEO likes to brag that he's the one who brought FileMaker into the organization in the 80s. His original purpose was to print 8,000 conference badges on an old dot matrix printer. So if that takes you back, that's where we started. In 1995, we brought in FileMaker Server, and I was actually able to go back and look at the invoices for these things. It was kind of cool. And when we brought in Server, we obviously centralized a lot of files that have been existing on individual desktops onto the server. And eventually, we merged most of these files into one giant database, the one we call OSBA today. That gives you a little bit of the history. So when we get into revenge of the data entry here, we had a problem where we wanted to start exposing data to our members via the web. We've got all these great things in the databases. How do we get them out to our members? And one of the first things we were tasked with doing was creating an online directory of a sub-organization of ours that's an association of lawyers who work with districts. And stop me if you've heard this one before in your nonprofits. once you start down that path, once you get that first thing out there, well, you've got staff coming up to you all the time saying, well, why can't we do this, or why can't we do that? And then the members start in, and then you start building a lot of apps very quickly. So we ended up with a lot of legacy what we call legacy applications now that were out there that weren't very well structured and were just kind of built to serve one purpose. So fast forward to about 2.5, 3 years ago, Drew and I sat down and we had a very long project list in front of us. And we had all these legacy apps. They didn't scale very well. They occasionally crashed the database, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to solve not only that problem, but all of our problems in the future, or at least most of them. And the solution we came up with was something we like to call rapid development. And what I mean by that is we take FileMaker and we use it as kind of the back end. We use it for our staff access, so they have plenty of access to the data. And then on the Drupal side, we built a set of common modules to interact with the FileMaker database and make it very easy for us to rapidly build applications around those common modules. And I have a great story that kind of illustrates this point. About 2 years ago, just back up for a second, there are school boards associations in virtually every state. I think Hawaii is the only one that doesn't have one. And we had one of our colleagues from Nebraska come in to do a site visit. And he was telling us about how they built their executive search application in 3 months using 3 developers using C#. And Drew and I just kind of looked at each other and chuckled and said, well, we also built ours in 3 months. But at the time, we had one developer, me, who was working part-time. I was only working 1 day a week. And we were able to build the same type of application that much quicker. So it just kind of goes to show you that FileMaker as a platform can allow you to very rapidly build things that you need. And, well, I'm on the slide. The page that's displayed up here is actually part of our new platform. This is one of our event registration pages. And you can see there are a few parts that come directly out of FileMaker. You've got the information about the event. You've got the agenda that's pulled from another table. And then the really cool thing I want to point out here is that workshop access code down in the very bottom right-hand corner. Now what that is we print our badges from FileMaker. And as people come into the event, they can see a 10-digit workshop code on the very bottom of their badge. And when they sit down with their laptop, their iPad, whatever they've got with them, they can type that 10-digit code into that box, and it'll automatically log them into their user account with our website. That allows them to get access to handouts, allows them to get access to their notes, and most importantly, it means we don't have 50 people going to the forgot password link all at the same time. So that's one of the very cool features we've been able to do with our FileMaker backend. So now we get into the rogue secret sauce, and I know you all came here for a cooking lesson on a Thursday morning, right? So what we have here is we have 8 parts modular components. It's our standardized modules that we use to build each of our individual websites. We've got a login module. We've got one that does all of our FileMaker finds that also helps us generate forms and directly put those back into the database without having to write save functions for every one of them. We take 2 parts structured deployments through the use of Git and Bamboo for automated testing and deployment. It means I don't have to go copy a bunch of code all over the place. I just send it up to the Git repository, and it automatically rolls out and gets tested. And then finally, we take infinite parts unique requirements, because at least in our industry, it's like off the shelf, but totally different. We find with all of our partner organizations, or all of our fellow SBAs, that even if they're going out and grabbing one of the giant CRMs off the shelf, they're still taking 18 to 24 months to build it and get it set with their requirements. Now with us, we just take FileMaker and we build it with those unique requirements in mind from the beginning. So it's a little bit different process, and we get to be a little bit more efficient in what we're doing because we're using FileMaker. Excuse me for just a second here. Okay, so now we're into our new platform. We've got our Drupal 8 base, we've got our FileMaker base, and how do we solve problems with this? Well, we have a problem with siloed data in our organization. Stuff comes out of the database, it goes into an Excel spreadsheet over here, it gets written down on a piece of paper somewhere on somebody's desk, and it's just kind of sitting there. It's not up to date. So we're able to do a couple things. We use Zimbra as an email collaboration suite and calendar system, and we were able to take data out of FileMaker, transition it through our sites, and get it into our Zimmer calendars. Things like workshop dates, we're able to transition easily to calendars. We were also able to do something really cool, where our staff was able to run a find on FileMaker. Say one of our consultants was working with the district, and they wanted to keep in touch with the 5 board members. Well, they're able to export that list of 5 board members' emails over to their Zimmer collaboration suite. They're able to then send an email to that group. And most importantly, at the end of the night, if somebody goes off the board, if somebody comes onto the board, if an email address changes, and this happens a lot, all 5 email addresses change because the district has decided to switch their email format for the 4th time in 5 years. They all get updated. So no matter what, our consultants are able to keep up with what the members are doing, and they don't have to worry about managing the data themselves. So in the Association Strikes Back, and believe it or not, this was actually the hardest of the Star Wars puns to come up with, and it seems so obvious, but it took me an hour. So we have a very large data set. We've got our 5,000 active members, we got our 7,000 organizations. How do we keep up with them? Well, one of the things we came up with was allowing our members access to do their own data entry. So if an email address changes, a phone number, an address, they can go in through this lovely app called Roster, very creative name, I know, and they can update it themselves. So our staff really doesn't have to do much other than make sure the data is in a good format when we get it. So that's been able to leverage our members as a resource without overburdening our staff. In the return to the APIs, this is where we get into the 2 really cool applications I wanted to show you today. ESOAP is a case study in why you don't release your code names to your staff before they're ready, because it's stuck, and it has nothing to do with SOAP. It stands for Executive Search Online Application, and what this application allowed us to do is it actually replaced a mostly paper-driven process. Basically, our consultants will go out and help a district find their new leaders, whether they're looking for a superintendent or a treasurer. And what they used to do is they used to collect applications online, take resumes, references, everything, and then they would print it off. There's problem 1. Then they would stick it in a giant box, like one of those used for reams of paper, and then they would take it into a district board meeting, drop it on the table, and they'd start going over resumes. And it was very overwhelming. There's problem 2. So how do we solve these problems? We built an application. We have all of our data collection online. We have a district dashboard where the district is actually able to go in and their board members can sit down on their own time ahead of the meeting. They can look at all the information, they can digest it at their own pace. And when they come into that first board meeting now, instead of being overwhelmed with a bunch of information, they can start having an intelligent conversation about who they want to lead their district. And that saves them a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and it also gives our consultants a better base to build off of. Now, the other cool thing about this application is it builds on every single tool in the FileMaker platform. We've got FileMaker Pro for our staff access. We've got FileMaker Web Direct for something we call a screeners portal, where we have former administrators from other districts go in, they take a look at the candidates, see who might fit, who might not fit. We also use custom web publishing for application processing and district access. And by the way, that's actually the exact same code base on both sides of that application, just slightly different configurations in the modules. That's the only difference. And finally, we're able to use FileMaker Go for on-site access for our consultants when they're going into those meetings. So we're using every bit of the FileMaker platform here. Finally, in the Demo Awakens, this is the one I really wanted to show you today. Exhibitors 2.0 followed Exhibitors 1.0, which followed yet another paper process. And this application, the newest version of this application launched earlier this year. What used to happen is we have a trade show at our Capitol conference every year. It's one of the biggest ones in our industry. And we had a trade show manager who used to have a giant stack of paper on her desk that she had to label what order it came in on. And she would process an application, put a company in a booth. Process an application, put a company in another booth. Process an application, oh wait, they wanted that booth. It's already taken. Got to make a phone call, got to say I'm sorry and try to get them into a different booth. So now we have an online application that I'm actually going to show you a short movie of here in just a moment. By the way, did anyone bring popcorn for a movie? Anyone? Okay. And as you'll see in the demo here, they're actually able to go in online, see all of this information right in front of them. All right, so this is our trade show dashboard. And this allows our trade show manager to go in and see the information on any booth in the show, who's got it, or what the pricing is, all at a glance. Also shows her how many booths we've got reserved, what the total revenue is, all of that information, and yeah, there's a Hitchhiker's Guide joke hidden on that slide there. Now if we go into my test company, we'll go into the invoices, and we will see first of all that I am really, really bad at paying my test company's invoices. I really need to get on that when I get home. But when we go into the trade show screen, hey, here's that same map again, common component. We're able to go in, click add booth, and then that booth belongs to that company. We're also going to see here in a moment that, yep, here it comes. Now, Empire, Skywalk, put a lightsaber and a Death Star on my map. So now we go into the portal, and the company is able to see all of their information. They can go in, click view invoice, and this is an invoice that's actually generated by FileMaker, stored in a container, and then served to the web. By the way, I haven't sped any of this up. That's actually the speed it loads at. If we go into the make reservation screen, there's that map again. I've seen that before, right? So the company is able to go in. They're able to see a lot of the same information we can on the back end, not all of it, but most of it. And then they're able to click add to cart. It pops into their cart, and they've got 15 minutes to check out, buy the booth. And there's no more guessing about what booth you're getting. So there's one more thing I want to show you here. If we go back through the portal, we're going to come into our edit company information screen. And here's that data entry piece I'm talking about. The company is able to see their entire relationship with us at a glance here. They can edit any of their contacts, any company information, phone numbers, emails, the whole 9 yards here. And if I click edit address here, we're actually able to switch from test street to some street very quickly. Save it, and now it's in FileMaker, and our trade show manager doesn't have to do anything. Since the first version of this application is launched, we've been able to combine 2 positions into 1, thanks to a retirement. And we've also been able to expand the ability of our trade show manager to go out and focus on selling booths rather than pushing a bunch of paperwork. So finally, in the last integrations, here are our last of the Star Wars titles. With our new platform, we've really been focused on if there's something that we can't do in the FileMaker platform, we now have these tools called JSON and curl, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about those over the last 3 days, that allow us to go out and integrate pretty much anything we need into the platform. So if there's something FileMaker can't do natively, it doesn't mean we can't do it. And in fact, it gives us some opportunities to innovate. So we've been really focusing on getting a lot of these microservices up and running. For example, we've done a PDF merging service in Java. We've done an Excel document creation service in C#, and it actually has a partner service written in Java that will go out and actually run queries for us on the database so that we can actually go in and export that data with custom headers and do a lot of cool stuff with it. We've also got an HTML email queue and delivery system that's actually written into a Drupal site. And that's actually going to be expanded very shortly to include text messages, phone calls, pretty much anything, any kind of notification you want to send out. We're going to do FileMaker notifications with it. It's going to be great. And with JSON and curl, there's really nothing that we can't do. It makes anything we want to do in FileMaker possible. And I really can't say enough good things about it, but of course I'm going to say a few more in my final thoughts here. So the FileMaker platform works for OSBK because it's the right choice to serve our staff. And by that I mean it's easily accessible from every device we've got. If we've got a network connection somewhere, we can get data out of our database. So it doesn't matter if you've got a laptop, we've got the FileMaker Pro client, you've got an iOS device, we can use Go. We've even found ways to get FileMaker data into Android devices through the use of our staff intranet. So if our staff is on the road and they really need something, there's a way for them to get it. From an IT perspective, for Drew and I, it's very easy to write custom reports very quickly, get them in the field so they can be used. And it's also very easy for me as a developer to integrate with anything we need, thanks to JSON and curl. For our members, it's a silent backend. They don't care that it's FileMaker, we do, but they don't. They just want to make sure that whatever we're putting out there works, it's quick, and FileMaker gives us a great platform to build on to do those things for them. And finally, it's the right choice for our future growth. Like I said earlier, we've been a part of this community for 30 years. We've been using FileMaker in our office every day. And with all the innovations we've heard about this week, I don't really see any reason why we can't use this as our workplace innovation platform for the next 30 years. And don't let the hairline fool you, I'm actually young enough that I could actually be here for that. So it's the right choice for our future. With that, I'm done yammering. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for coming to DevCon. And at this point, we've got mics set up for questions. If there is anything I've showed off today that you kind of want to see how it works or even see some of the code behind it, I'd be more than happy to share that afterwards. I've got my laptop with me. Be happy to share everything we've got with you. So thank you all again, and we'll take questions at this point if there are any. And also, don't forget your session evaluations. Yes, can you come to the microphone for the recording, please?
Sure. I picked up on the comment that you made about letting the users, update their email addresses and things like that,
Yeah.
which I think you got to do. Otherwise, you got to have a big staff to constantly touch with those people.
Yeah.
Are you? Have you created any kind of plug-in or back-end that logs those changes so that you can say, well, oh, my email address is wrong, who put that in there?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. In our old platform, we had a lot of problems with that. There wasn't really a good login solution built in that we're able to leverage, so a lot of times we would have issues with staff seeing an email address change and not knowing where it came from. That's a great question. In our new platform, we've actually been able to use FileMaker transactions from the web so that every time a change is made, it doesn't matter whether it's coming from the web or from our FileMaker application, we're actually able to see exactly who made the change, when they made it, and what the change was. So it gives us a complete stack of who changed what. So yeah, we've been able to do that even from the web. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Actually, I have a question for Maka. So Soliant's a kind of a big company in the FileMaker universe, and if I were on my own or in a smaller team, I think I would find it a little intimidating to take on a pro bono client. And I'm wondering if you have any advice on how to manage that, or at least get past that fear, or find a way to not worry that would take over my business, right? That I wouldn't be able to do my real job.
Oh, my mic's gone. Nice. So I would suggest, if you're worried about that, you have to come to an agreement with your nonprofit, and I would suggest placing a limit. Like, I can donate 5 hours a week, something like that, or I can donate 3 hours a week, and log that time, and then kind of almost treat it like a regular project where you have to balance your schedule. And you could even kind of send them a report of these are the hours I used this week and what I did. So I think that's an agreement you'll have to come with early on, something you have to establish early on, but I think it can be done. And even if it's very small, as long as they agree to it, then it works for both of you, right?
Okay. Any other questions for either of us? Going once, going twice. All right, well, thank you all again for coming, and please don't forget your session evaluations. Thank you.